It's Fact or Fiction with your host, Lucy.
He's the almost forgotten man who gave thousands of people across the USA better health, and he could have achieved more if his best discoveries had been understood and applied. He was an American biochemist and dedicated research scientist who had a distinguished career spanning 70 years. Dr. Fred Kummerow was a prolific researcher and author who published over 460 scientific articles, wrote 2 books, edited 3 books, and contributed chapters on trans fats and cholesterol in heart disease to 6 books. He specialized in studying the functions and malfunctions of dietary fats in animal tissue, particularly the vascular endothelium where atherosclerosis prevailed. We're crossing now to Dan Eend at the Illinois Pioneer Studio, who is talking to Dr. Kummerow about his career influences.
One thing that I'm really interested in hearing about is how it is that you became a chemist. Was this something that fascinated you from the point when you were young?
When I went to high school in Milwaukee, there was a high school there that had 3 years of chemistry. And so I would say I fell in love with chemistry. And then after that, I worked at a wholesale drug company, and I made cold creams, all kinds of things in the lab there. And I went to night school 4 nights a week, taking English, German, and French, which is required for a chemistry course, at night. And during the day, I worked in this wholesale drug company 48 hours a week. And then I did that for 2.5 years, and then I decided I'd go to day school at the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. I did that for a semester, and then in June, I went to the Miller's Brewing Company, and I got a job there in a bottle house. And so I worked there for the summer and made $300, which was enough to pay for my first semester at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. Mm-hmm. And 2 weeks after I got there, I had signed up for NYA, that's National Youth Administration, which President Roosevelt had made available to universities. And the university had to match half of it. And I was told to go to the biochemistry department and ask for Dr. Steenbach, Harry Steenbach. And he was a very famous professor. He had shown how vitamin D was caused, and how that vitamin D was necessary to prevent rickets. And I worked there first as an undergraduate student for 3 years, from 1933 to 1936. And then got my bachelor's degree in chemistry, and immediately started out in biochemistry with Dr. Steenbach, my mentor. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got to be a chemist, a biochemist.
It sounds as if you had this long interest in chemistry, and you wanted to study that, but because you ended up as an assistant in the biochem lab, it was biochemistry and not some other kind of chemistry.
That's right. That's right.
Was there at some point where you particularly became interested in the chemistry of fats?
Yes, because I did my senior thesis for my master's degree and for my PhD degree. I worked with animals, feeding in animals fats and seeing what happened to them. And so that's how I got interested in the fat chemistry, you might say.
So clearly you were interested in the chemistry of fats.
Yeah.
And you had at least done some work taking a look at the relationship between diet and health. Was there some point that you became particularly interested in heart disease?
Well, that was in 1957. And in 1957, I got some autopsy material from Carl Clinic here, and I found that they had like the hearts and arteries and liver had up to 19% trans fat in it. And I published that in Science magazine. And Science is an American Association of Advancement of Science, a widely read journal all over the world. So that was a start.
Kummerow's 1957 paper on trans fats was a personal and national milestone, later enshrined in regulations. He found that trans fats, formed during hydrogenation of vegetable oils, found their way into human tissue via the diet. He conducted a 50-year campaign to ban artificial trans fats. This 2009 paper is an example of his efforts to publicize scientific truth. It finally came to fruition near the end of his career when a legal benefactor, acting on his behalf, forced the hand of the FDA to enact a rule that would effectively ban hydrogenated oils from use in processed foods. It wasn't until 2015 that a ban was enshrined in American law. He challenged the dominant diet heart hypothesis, arguing that saturated fat and dietary cholesterol were not the main drivers of heart attacks. Oxidized lipids, trans fats, and damaged vegetable oils were the real threats, and oxidized cholesterols, not native cholesterol, are the true drivers of coronary disease. He was one of the earliest scientists to argue that LDL is harmful only after it has been oxidized. This insight foreshadowed modern oxysterol research. All in all, Kummerow is proud of his decades of work to understand the causes of heart disease, and he offers some simple advice that seems to have contributed, in part at least, to his own health and lifespan.
If you don't eat hydrogenated fat, and if you don't eat oxidized fat, you're going to live longer than if you do. So if you eat what nutritionists consider a well-balanced diet, and don't eat too much fried foods, you might be able to eat some, but you can't eat too much of it. Then you'll never have to worry about heart disease. That's what I believe.
Few bygone scientists surpassed Kummerow's dedication to uncovering the root causes of atherosclerosis, and he set a benchmark for those who followed to match or better. He lived to 102 years of age, but paradoxically, for a man who knew so much about atherosclerosis, he had coronary artery bypass grafting, CABG surgery, on March 23, 2004, at 89 years of age. In the next video, we will look more closely at the Kummerow paradox to see if the details about his diet and lifestyle reveal anything we should know.